all right. We're gonna get them started here. Got something for y'all today, Jack. My stuff out here. Music. Let me start. Those of us that are going to we do so because it's changed. Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to WHGE 95.3 FM. This is The Open Eye with your host and third eye optometrist, Patrice Gibbs. What's up, Brother Vaughn? Look, I'm gonna get this out the way right now. Wait a minute. Get this out the way. Okay. That's the disclaimer. All right. Views and opinions those who test and contribute not reflect our position. WHGE 95.3 FM, you are our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Respect. Any content provided by hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to any religion, ethnic group, company, or. All right. This is Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist, right here on WHGE 95.3. You know what? It is foolishness to let your oppressor tell you how you should feel about the oppression that they inflicted on you. That's the arrogance of caucasity. Check this out. Oh, what's that? Okay. The statues on campus be watching me. Washington, Jefferson, clocking me as if to say my time's up. But I don't run laps on tracks. I run laps around the scholars of tomorrow because their new school of thought are merely our history borrowed. That's from Brother M.K. Asante. So, hey, Sherry, I see you, sister. All right. Glad to see you there. Hey, you know, there's a term going around that people use, woke. There was a brother in the 50s. This was in the 50s. Okay, when a lot of people had no idea what it meant to be woke or conscious. And he wrote an essay called The Influence of the Mystery Religions on Christianity. Okay. Dig it. He said in his essay, the Greco-Roman world in which the early church developed was one of diverse religions. The conditions of that era made it possible for these religions to sweep like a tidal wave over the ancient world. The people of that age were eager and zealous in their search for religious experience. The existence of this atmosphere was vitally important in the development and eventual triumph of Christianity. Excuse me. The Egyptian mysteries, he went on to say, the Egyptian mysteries of Isis and Osiris exerted considerable influence upon early Christianity. Okay, what this brother is telling you, he's telling you where Christianity got it. These two great Egyptian deities whose worship passed into Europe were revered not only in Rome, but in many other centers where Christian communities were growing up. So that's what this brother was schooling people on. He is still in college, 1950s, just barely out of his teens. That's word, just barely out of his teens. Yo, what's up, brother Jardea? That's word, and Sister Tracy. All right, Queen, glad to have you. And I wanted to let y'all know. So, I guess you're wondering who that brother was. You know, this is a brother that people say he became woke later on in life, near the time of his death. Some of you might be catching on. Even the Nation of Islam tried to claim that he didn't really become woke until he had an audience with their leader, Elijah Muhammad. It's not so. It's not so. This brother obviously was woke in the 50s, in his 20s, and at the time that he wrote that, just barely out of his teens. The brother I'm talking about is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Woke then. Probably surprised a lot of y'all. Yo, what's going on right now with our education is these people, you know, that have made CRT the boogeyman. This is how crazy these people are. Okay, Republicans reject math books that teach math, science books that teach science, and history books that teach religion, which explains why their version of Christianity has nothing to do with the Bible. They're banning books like crazy. I had a list of like 45 books that these fools have banned because, you know, they said that math books are sneaking in CRT, and some of these schools in Florida and Georgia or wherever these fools are at pushing this mess have actually banned some math books. Jeez Louise. History is not there for you to like or dislike. It is there for you to learn from. And if it offends you, even better, because then you are less likely to repeat it. It's not yours to erase. It belongs to all of us. I thank Brother Vaughn for that. You know, in Germany, teaching the Holocaust is mandatory. It includes visits to concentration camps, and museums, and etc. They don't shy away from their own ugly history. Yet the kids aren't damaged. They're strengthened, matured, humble. The U.S. needs to do the same with slavery. It's not that complicated. It really isn't. All right. All right. I got a lot more for you. That's where I got a lot more for you. What's up, Steve? I see you, Mr. Leach. It's something you'll never learn in school. Africa is actually bigger than all of Europe, China, and the United States of America together. But on world maps, Africa is represented in downsides. And they got the map upside down. Okay? Because the top of the world is not Europe. The top of the world is actually Southern Africa. Okay? You know, so like I said, you know, this is deliberately done to create the visual effect of a small Africa to manipulate, brainwash, and deceive Africans wherever they are, and the rest of the world too. Africa has 60% of arable land. Africa owns 90% of raw material reserve. Africa owns 40% of the global gold reserve. Africa, 33% of the diamond reserve. Africa has 80%, listen to that, 80% of Coltan's global reserve. Coltan is the mineral for telephone and electronic production. And that is mainly in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Africa has 60% of global cobalt reserves, mineral for car battery manufacture. Africa is rich in oil and natural gas. Africa, Namibia, has the world's richest fish coastline. Africa is rich in manganese, iron, wood. Africa is 3 times the area of China, 3 times the area of Europe, 3 times the United States of America. Africa has 30.5 million kilometers. Africa has 1.3 billion inhabitants. China has 1.4 billion inhabitants in 9.6 million kilometers, which means Africa is subpopulated. Let me say that again. Africa is subpopulated. How did that happen? Well, during the slave trade, 1/3 of the African continent was depopulated. Let us not forget that. I tell you something else. Africa has a young global population that should reach 2.5 billion by the year 2050. The average age is like 30. Africa is the future. You don't realize that, you just learned it today, right here on the Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM. All right. Oh, I got plenty more for you. I was going to take a little break here to get organized, enjoy my music. WHGE 95.3 FM. Oh yeah, Jordan. That's why China is over there. No doubt. No doubt. They're over there colonizing. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna go ahead and get this right now. Yes. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs. Oh, Brother Vaughn sent me a text message the other day that said that Ethiopia is gearing up to go to the Ukraine. And when I first read the text message, I was thinking that the Ethiopians are gearing up to go help the Ukrainians. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with y'all? And then I read the article and I was like, oh, I had that wrong. The Ethiopians are going over there on the side of Russia. How you like that? I won't repeat on the air what I said, oh, sugar. You know that ain't what I said when I saw that, and that's what I responded to Brother Vaughn with. All right. Now, I want to get with something here. All right. War is a racket. All right. Who said that? We know it. We know that to be so. As pointed out by Major General Smedley D. Butler in 1935. He said it is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. It is the only one in which the profits are reckoned in dollars and the losses of lives. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to be to the majority of people. Only a small inside group knows what it is really about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the very many. Out of war, a few people make huge fortunes. Young men die in wars that greedy old men start. And that's the point. Okay. What's this cat's name? Oh, I got it. Okay, here we go. Malcolm Nance. Malcolm Nance. He's a former MSNBC analyst, writer, speaker, and he's a black man. U.S. Navy veteran. He's about my age. And he has confirmed that he is fighting in Ukraine, on the side of the Ukrainians. How do you like that? And he is part of that country's international legion against the Russian invasion. Nance, in an interview with host Joy Reid, said he had been fighting against Russia in the country for about a month. And he spoke by video link from an undisclosed location in Ukraine, wearing full camouflage, a flak jacket, and holding an assault rifle. This is a black man. Brother, did you see what was going on in Ukraine when the Russians invaded? Did you pay attention, you moron, to the way they treated the black people there? And your dumbass gonna go volunteer to help these people. Are you kidding me? And what was real crazy when Joy Reid brought it up, okay, she compared him to Eugene Jacques Bullard. I almost cussed her out over the TV. I'm not one of them people that throw stuff in my TV. It costs too damn much. But Bull, I tell you, wait a minute. Do you know who Eugene Jacques Bullard was? You know who that is? Chances are you don't. But don't feel bad, because probably not one American in a million knows who that is. And that's actually a national tragedy. Eugene Jacques Bullard is the first African-American fighter pilot in history. Your open eye listener, you might know, because it's not the first time I told this story. But he is also much more than that. He is also a national hero. And his story is so incredible that I bet if you wrote a movie script based on it, Hollywood would reject it as being too far-fetched. Okay? Bullard was an expat living in France. That's an interesting thing about France in the early 1900s and the 1920s and what have you. They seem to have a fascination with African Americans. They ain't a damn about Africans, but for some reason. But anyway, as I said, he was living as an expat in France. And when World War I broke out, he joined the French infantry. He was seriously wounded, and France awarded him the Croix de Guerre and the militaire. Yeah, it was the French medals for those of you that don't understand my sorry French. In 1916, he joined the French Air Service, and he was first trained as a gunner, but later trained as a pilot. When American pilots volunteered to help France and form the famous Lafayette Escadrille, he has to join, but by the time he became a qualified pilot, they were no longer accepting new recruits. So he joined the Lafayette Flying Corps instead. He served with French flying units, and he completed 20 combat missions. This is a hell of a dude. When the United States finally joined the war, Bullard was the only member of the escadrille or the French flying corps who was not invited to join the U.S. Air Service. The reason? At that time, the Air Service only accepted white men. Now, here's the part that almost sounds like a sequel to Casablanca, the famous Humphrey Bogart movie. After World War I, Bullard became a jazz musician in Paris, and he eventually owned a nightclub called L'Escadrille. When the Germans invaded France and conquered it in World War II, his club and Bullard became hugely popular with German officers. But what they didn't know was that Bullard, who spoke fluent German, was actually working for the Free French as a spy. He eventually joined the French infantry unit, but he was badly wounded and had to leave the service. By the end of the war, Bullard had become a national hero in France. But he later moved back to the US, where he was, of course, completely unknown. Practically no one in the United States was aware of it then when, in 1959, the French government named him a national chevalier, or a knight. In 1960, the president of France, Charles de Gaulle, paid a state visit to the United States, and when he arrived, he said that one of the first things he wanted to do was meet Eugene Jacques Bullard. That sent the White House staff scrambling because most of them sorry asses had never heard of the brother. They finally located him in New York City, and de Gaulle traveled there to meet him personally. At the time, Eugene Jacques Bullard was working as an elevator operator. Not long after Eugene Bullard met with the president of France, he passed away. And today, very, very few Americans, and especially African Americans, even know who he is. But now you do, don't you? And I hope you'll be able to find opportunities to tell other people about this great man that probably only one American in a million has ever heard of. Oh yeah, and we could thank the French for his fame and for the respect they gave him. But like I said, you know, the French, very interesting how the French had this thing for African Americans, but hated Africans. And you got to remember who the French are and their involvement in the slave trade. See, for the French, it was cheaper to kill an enslaved African and wait for a new shipment to arrive than improve their living conditions. And over the course of 100 years, from the 1680s to the 1780s, over 1 million Africans were killed. You hear that? They killed over 1 million people in the course of 100 years. Now remember, slavery started in Haiti in 1492. And at that time, Columbus and them killed, what was it? Columbus and them killed over 8 million indigenous people. The death rate in Saint-Domingue, Haiti, was ridiculous. In just 100 years of slavery, they killed 1 million people, and thousands more were killed by suicide because they knew death was better than enslavement. And women newly arrived, African women committed suicide at a higher rate than anybody else. Not only were they forced to work in the fields, but they were also subjected to rape. Their bodies were no longer their own. They were reduced to little more than a substitute for some white man's hand, and you know what I mean. And those who were impregnated often didn't make it the full term. They either died during pregnancy, during birth, or they didn't deliver live births. This is what the French did to African people. This just didn't happen in Haiti, but in every French colony around the world. That is their legacy. The legacy of the French. Oh, their pastries and desserts that people love so much are a result of the enslavement of African people. So don't give too much credence to the French and the fact that, yeah, people, you know, African Americans expatriated there. Yeah, people like Josephine Baker, Eugene Jacques Boulard, a lot of jazz artists went over there and were treated with a level of respect. But don't be too quick to salute the colonizer's flag, because it is soaked with the blood of our people. WHGE 95.3 FM. The Open Eye. Yeah. What's up, brother? How you doing? How you doing? I got it.
What's good?
Bro. Get me going. Get me going.
Just invited a couple few. What's up? What's good, y'all? What's up, Sherry, Steve, Gerard, Johnny? Yo, I see y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Your boy just made it. You know I'm Jamaican. 18 jobs. You know what I'm saying? I gotta get that money. Gotta get it.
WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Patrice Gibbs, your third eye optometrist, joined by
Nsoromma in the building.
Our intellectual surgeon. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me get down with this right quick.
What?
Okay. And some people you don't want to mess with,
right?
Okay. And even when you do, and they're black people, the press will try to flip that and make it look like, you know, the black person. You know how they always say, you need to calm down.
I mean, that's the press, that's the media, that's just that. What's that new law you said they trying to do? Make them feel uncomfortable? Yeah. I mean,
so brother Mike Tyson was on the airplane,
right?
And the white dude asked him to take a picture with him. He's drunk and acting a fool.
Okay. Said, yeah, first of all, he violated right there. He talking to me drunk.
Yeah,
so
right
he's
there.
able to say anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know. So you know he talking to you know. So he wouldn't leave Mike alone.
Right.
A couple people told him, Mike want to leave him alone. We're talking about Mike Tyson now.
Yeah, then he started talking dirty on. I seen it.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They start talking slick. They are harassing the man and this, that, and the other. Now the way the press put it out there was like Mike Tyson goes off. Like, I mean, you know, he's just walking around angry.
Mike Tyson, they've been putting Mike under the bus.
Oh yeah,
all of them. But Mike, he handled himself pretty well anyway. And all his, he's talking good and everything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He know what he did.
That's right.
And the white guy know what he did. David Chappelle, right? He actually stopped one of those situations before, because it'd be 2, 3, 4 white guys that's going around all these black celebrities that's planning to do this and catch him on film and
then sue him.
Yeah, right. So right. That's I think that's what happened in that situation. You know what I'm saying? You can't play with nobody.
No. So Mike bloodied him up and rightly so.
Right. I mean, he lucky he didn't get him good, because he's leaning over the chair giving him a couple little baby ones. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I told you to quit playing. You know, I'm a grown man. You don't play with me.
You don't play with me.
You know? Yeah. You know? But then
what brother wouldn't have reacted like that? When some fool harassing them and up in their face, talking slick and all that. Oh, hell no. I don't play it.
Right. I mean, it's just certain stuff you don't do. You violate, you get it. And then, you know, they say don't put your hand on nobody, but sometimes you need to put hands on people.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I'll tell you something. My grandmother said sometimes you gotta hug people you don't like, so you know how big they dig the hole in the backyard.
Oh. Oh Lord.
Yes, Lord.
Mom, no, peace.
You know, I'm gonna say it right now. I'm gonna give a shout out to some of our listeners and
Most
followers and what have you that have posted things that made contributions to the show.
Most definitely.
Brother Jardea.
Yeah. What's up, Jay?
Yes, the Sister Sherry Bryson.
Sherry.
Brother Vaughn.
Yo.
Yes, sir. And, of course, Sister Tracy Johnson.
Tracy.
Right, Queen. You know, it's no accident that the medium white family is $147,000.
Right.
The medium wealth, and let me start that over. It's no accident the medium white family wealth,
right,
is $147,000, and the medium black family wealth is $3,600.
3,600. I thought you was gonna say 36,000.
No.
3,600.
3,600.
That's messy, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's messy.
That's how we get here. How did that happen?
That's messy.
In the 1940s and 50s,
right,
the Federal Housing Association gave white people home loans, but denied black people those same loans.
Right, and they have a better job than the white person.
Yeah.
I'm going through that right now. So, you know, that still exists right now.
Right now.
Right.
Yep. Those $10,000 homes in the 40s and 50s are now worth $500,000. In our lifetime, the U.S. government robbed every black family of $500,000. See, the wealth gap was created, not by chance. We are doing amazing despite the institutional obstacles put before us. If the playing field was level, we would be ahead by a long shot. Now, reparations can easily be given through below market mortgage interest rates with no primary, no PMI, rather than lump sums attached. I don't agree with that. I don't go with that. You know, the government did it for white farmers through land grants and subsidies. And now the descendants are the same ones telling us to pick ourselves up by bootstraps. Y'all got free boots with extra straps on them, and now you run around telling people to pick themselves up by their own damn bootstraps. You go to hell, you racist bastards. That's word.
Did I catch it? Did I catch it, Miss Hughes? Did I catch it, Miss Hughes? I thought I caught you that time. My boots be kind of slow.
Hey, you know, it's something because I always tell people, pay attention to detail.
Oh, detail.
There's levels to this thing.
Yes.
There's levels to this thing.
Right.
Okay. And let us not forget the war on drugs. Now, the war on drugs actually started like in the 30s and was actually aimed at Mexicans at first. Okay. By a guy named Harry Anslinger. Harry Anslinger, who I hope is on a slow boat to hell with gasoline drawers on.
Okay, I thought.
Yeah. And I hope that the devil sodomizes him with a pitchfork.
Oh, no.
Yeah, because this was one rotten bastard.
Wow.
Okay. And like I said, initially he aimed the war on drugs because he was about to lose his job because prohibition was over.
Okay.
So he's going to lose his good government job. So what he did was he came up with another villain so he could keep his job.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And the villain that he picked were Mexican people with cannabis, which America renamed marijuana. Okay. And actually it spelled it with an H, you know, at that time. All right. And you fast forward, and then, you know, the Nixon administration kicked up the war on drugs. The war on drugs was a war on steroids with the Nixon administration. You know, the Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies. The anti-war left, which is like, you know, a lot of the white hippies and what have you.
Right.
And black people. Okay, and this is a quote from Ehrlichman, who was in the Nixon administration. He said, "We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or to be black. But by getting the public to associate the hippie with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news." Did we know we were lying about drugs? Of course we did, but we did it any goddamn way. Boom. Yeah, that's what it is. And then, of course, you had the 94 crime bill, okay, which, you know, was should be called the Biden bill because he was so proud of it. You know, Clinton signed it into law. Black politicians supported that bill.
Mm.
And now y'all out here apologizing for it, including Biden and Clinton and them, out here apologizing for it. Okay?
But they making it worse now too, though. So
Oh, yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, you know. But it destroyed families. And it's somebody's grandfather right now sitting in prison because of that goddamn boo. Y'all go to hell. Boo.
That was late. I try to catch you home.
Yeah. And you know, of course, what that led to with the mass incarceration,
right?
Because there were so many, was privatized prisons.
Right.
Right.
Did you know that we can start our own prison?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna tell you how to do it. I got this from Sister Tracy Johnson. Thank you, Queen.
Mm-hmm.
This is from Dallas Leon, who is a private prison investor, and he calls himself on Twitter at Prison Investor One. Right. He says, "I've owned and operated private prisons for over 2 decades. Private prisons are the single greatest real estate investment vehicle around. And here's what I've learned. Owning a private prison gives an investor a recurring and predictable stream of high margin revenue. Right. The government contracts are long-term in nature and very lucrative. I have managed to make over $35,000 per prisoner annually. Let's break down the deal. $35,000.
Yeah, I think that's like $1,500 a day for the prisoner, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that.
You don't make $1,500 a day nowhere working.
No. That's
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Dallas Leon at Prison Investor One said he purchased the Eagle Nest facility in 2008. Okay. Total cost was $30 million with 25% down, which is $7.5 million. The facility has 1,200 bids, implying a cost per bid of only $25,000. Building the new prison is in excess of $150,000 per bid. So it's cheaper for the government to go along with him. So he said he entered into a perpetual contract with the United States Marshal Service at $20 million per year with 5% escalators per year, meaning that $20 million would be increased by 5% every year. In the first year, we generated $5 million in free cash flow, a 67% cash on cash return. That's a major profit.
Just think how many people they had to lock up.
Yeah.
That they made deals with. What?
Yeah. And check it. Prison owners get paid per person.
Right.
The more people, the more money. That goes to what you were saying, Nsoromma.
Yeah.
Here are the economics per person. $100 a day per person in revenue. $25 a day per person in variable costs. $35 per day per person in fixed costs. $40 a day per person in straight margin. Okay. Now, he says to increase his cash flow, he spent a significant amount of money on lobbying efforts to win a judge who was hard on crime. This paid off by the end of a year or two. To pay me back, the judge sent most young men, higher margin than older men, to my facility. Cash flow went up 3 times.
Right. Just think, if I got 17-year-old going into 18, becoming a grown man, you know, and I catch him when they do steal a candy bar out of the store, you know, and I want to make him an example, which they only do examples for black people.
Of course.
You understand? Okay, he makes example out of this young black man by giving him charge that's he shouldn't even be getting from the gate. 10 years for stealing a candy bar. You know, and then he at 17 right now getting 10 years, 18, he at 18, because you have to be 18 to go to prison, right?
Depending on the charge.
Yeah, depending on the charge. You have to be, you have to be like 18 to be charged as an adult at least, right? So, say he catch him when he's 18, give him that 10 years.
Right.
When you get in jail, you are going to have problems in jail. Most of the time come from the people being in jail. So when they go to jail and they have a fight in jail or there's something break out in jail and they're involved in, when you're in jail, they give you more time.
Right.
So that 10 years now turned into 25 years. You know, and now he don't see a future, period. Now he's that money that's going to keep the prison running until he dies. Because, you know, that's a serious vicious system, man.
It is, man.
Put in effect, and they only using poor people, you know, to run this service.
Right.
You know,
because America has criminalized property. If you're poor in America, you're basically a criminal.
Right. I want you to be poor so I can catch you doing something to take care of your family, so I can put you in this place right here where I get the money, where I get the profit for you just sitting here.
Right.
Yeah, I'll feed you, but that don't mean nothing. No,
you see the food in prison?
I mean, I can take some grass and some mud, mix it together, and put some salt on it, and give it to you.
That's bigger than big.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, man.
So by year 4, cash flows were $15 million at 95% occupancy.
Wow.
To maximize my investment, I started to market the facility to outside investors. Halfway through year 4, we sold the facility to private equity for 10 times the cash flow, or $150 million.
All right.
In 4 years, I turned $7.5 million into a clean $150 million. I took this money and reinvested it into other prisons across southern states. Today, I manage an investment portfolio of over $1.5 billion in prison real estate.
Look at that.
Yeah. Now, here's the tips on how to do it. Get financing from individual investors. Focus on states hard on crime. Prisoners equal money. You need crime to profit. So what some of these private prison owners have done is they have signed contracts with the state that the prison has to remain at a certain level of occupancy.
Right. And if the state fail to do that, they can sue the state.
Right.
Right.
That's what
and so you know, every police officer is told, make sure you get your quota today. You as one individual need at least to lock 6 to 10 people up today. All right? Let's go get them.
Let's go get them.
You know, and you as a black person, or one of them people that they're after death. So that's messy.
Yeah. And he said you can use prisoners to generate ancillary revenues at dirt cheap wages.
Wow.
Meaning that you can bring in corporations, charge them, and have the prisoners do their work at 5 cents an hour or some crap like that.
I mean, almost zero an hour.
Almost zero an hour.
If I need these papers stapled, and I got a prison system, I mean, the prison right now use prisoners to make license plates.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's something.
That's not all.
I mean, they're making a lot of stuff right now.
Oh yeah.
I think that should be illegal. If I'm doing time in prison, I'm doing my time in prison.
Right.
You're not putting me to work in prison.
Right. But if you don't go to work in prison,
right,
then you're punished for it.
Right.
They can't do that legally, but you don't, you can't go to the exercise.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do your privilege taken away from you. And that's
because you didn't participate in the program.
Right.
You know,
that's
so what they do is, they punish you.
What kind of design? What kind of design is that? Doesn't that sound like slavery?
Exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
That sounds like legal slavery.
Yeah, and it says it's okay in the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, except for those duly convicted of crime.
Right. Which they look at black people as a criminal anyway.
Anyway.
Crime is written on black people's forehead.
That,
so that was basically for that last little piece was for us as black people.
That's right.
And poor people.
And poor people.
Yeah, man.
Because you know what black people are?
Wow.
Look, you go into, especially in the South, you go through some of these southern towns.
Right.
I seen a story this week on a woman, 60-something years old. She gets pulled over by the police. The police claim that, you know, they smell drugs or this, that, and the other. All right?
Right.
And then they find prescription pills, and they claim that these pills, which were her pain relievers, okay, were illegal, or she had them illegally.
I mean,
they also took this part out. All right? They also took the money that she had drawn out of the bank.
Right.
$5,000.
Wow.
Okay, and said that this money
ain't hers.
No, it was drug money.
Yeah,
it was drug revenue.
Yeah.
You know, so they confiscated her money, and right now she's in court to get her money back and what have.
And they gonna charge her for the court fees,
right?
All the lawyer fees, the police officer day for taking the time to write the ticket,
right?
All this other stuff. These are scams and fraudulent, you know, actions that they taking up on us.
Yeah.
Man. This is what's holding America back, and people in America that's trying to prosper. It's designed to mess us up.
That's what it is.
They can pull up behind your car and run your tag, get out the car and come up to you or kill you, shoot you, and charge you, all in the same instant.
Right. And those of us that they don't murder,
get in trouble for it.
Right.
I mean, who's be held accountable for that?
Sure.
You have to start carrying your own protection and protect yourself from the police. Is that's what it's coming down to now? Because they getting they hiring all these racist and you know, injustice people on their force, which is attacking the black and Mexican and color community. I mean, we have to take a step and stand somewhere, man. That's right. You can't just be victims all our lives. No. We have families and kids you have to take care of too. Right. You know.
And you know, I tell you what, black people have become in many of these southern towns and Midwestern towns and what have you. If you're traveling, right, you know where you're going and what have you. Because to them, you are revenue generators.
Definitely. You from out of town and you riding through Sussex, Georgia, and a cop pull up behind you and you don't know nobody. First thing they say, how far are you going to school? Do you have any relatives? If you say I ain't go to school, I ain't graduate, I only went to the 8th grade and I ain't got nobody, you're going to jail. They're going to keep you. And it can be for $100 fine. But you'll stay there forever until somebody like Jay-Z or somebody put up $100 for all the people that got $100 bills or something. I mean, and how often does that happen? You know, mainly almost never. You know what I'm saying? Never, right. So he's stuck. You stuck. Where are you at? And you're just trying to travel from this point to that point.
And the next thing you know, you in jail assembling computers and cell phones
for Microsoft.
For iPhone. Yeah. For $3. I mean, for $3 a week.
$3. You get 3 cents.
3 cents an hour.
That's crazy, man.
And if you don't do it, you're gonna find that you're gonna spend most of your time in your cell,
or in the hole,
or somewhere, and you know, then you're gonna be looked at as uncooperative and hostile, right? And the CO is gonna come in there and beat your ass, and they don't kill you.
That's crazy. Yeah, man. I mean,
and, you know, this is where we are, because you know what George Carlin said.
I like him too, man.
Yeah.
Peace, man.
if you got stupid people, you're going to get stupid leaders. You got stupid people voting, you're going to get stupid leaders, and that's what we got.
Wow.
Stupid and corrupt.
Right.
Because corporations are experiencing the highest profits since 1950.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, since 1950. Oil companies are enjoying the highest profits in 7+ years.
Do you know gas is $5 right now, $5.19?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's what they do, man.
You
That's
know?
what they did.
Now, what they did was the supply is up. Okay? Now, they said that, you know, when Russia attacked, you know, they had to raise the prices on oil.
Right.
And so the gas prices went up. Now, the price on oil went down, but the gas prices stayed up there.
Right.
Okay? Shipping companies recorded profits that grew 7 times in 1 year. And CEO pay is the highest ever, up 1,322% in 4 decades. Okay? Open your eyes. It's called price gouging and greed, not inflation. Understand that.
But that's what they're going to call it. They're going to tell you it's inflation.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. That's what they're going to tell you.
All of them, the news media, everybody, this is the new word for today. Spread it around all the media. Inflation.
Yep. And you turn on the TV.
God,
I don't care if you're in Kalamazoo, you know, what's that? Or if you're in New York City, and when you turn on the news, they're gonna say the same damn thing in New York City that they're saying in Kalamazoo.
Right.
You know, it was a video that went around that showed how everybody in the news media, which is owned by just a few corporations,
right,
are on message.
On the same page.
On the same page.
It has to go around the world at the same time. So everybody can get it the same time.
That's right.
Simultaneous.
Simultaneously. Right. Yep. Now, there's a guy named David Bentley Hart. Okay, and he broke this down.
Right.
All right. Well, here's how he put it. Okay. And this was from his essay, 3 Cheers for Socialism. Okay. Okay, in the Commonwealth. Americans are, of course, the most thoroughly and passively indoctrinated people on earth. Okay. They know next to nothing, as a rule, about their own history, or the histories of other nations, or the histories of the various social movements that have risen and fallen in the past. And they certainly know little or nothing of the complexities and contradictions comprised within the words like socialism and capitalism.
And they don't care to know.
They don't care to know.
That's massive.
And they want to stop other people from knowing.
Wow.
You know, they are proudly ignorant. That's amazing. Chiefly, what they have been trained not to know or even suspect is that in many ways, they enjoy far fewer freedoms and suffer under a more intrusive, centralized state than do the citizens of countries with more vigorous social democratic institutions. This is at once the most comic and most tragic aspect of the excitable alarm that talk of social democracy or democratic socialism can elicit on these shores. What they don't understand, which FDR understood, is that capitalism requires a lower class to exploit. In America, that lower class that they exploit are Black people. It's you. It's you. That's right. You know? An enormous number of Americans have been persuaded to believe that they are freer in abstract than, say, Germans or Danes, precisely because they possess far fewer freedoms in the concrete. That's how dumb they are. More vulnerable to medical and financial crisis. Right. Far more likely to receive inadequate health coverage. You ever seen people crazy enough to protest against their own health? Yeah, you actually do, really. You know? Yeah. You know? And they are far more prone to irreparable insolvency, far more unprotected against predatory creditors, far more subject to income inequality, and so forth, while effectively paying more in tax when one figures in federal, state, local, and sales taxes, and then compounds those by all the expenditures that is in this country, as almost nowhere else their taxes do not cover. One might think that people who once rebelled against the mightiest empire on earth at the time, on the principle, of no taxation without representation will not meekly accept taxation without adequate government services. Do you understand that? You are getting taxed with no representation, and you are not getting adequate government services for the tax money that they take from you.
You actually don't get any government services if you a certain race.
Yeah,
they cut it all back. They cut everything. If they giving this white person 100, they giving you 26.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get $100 worth of food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
The white guy get, and the black person get $23 worth of food stamps for the
right.
white. Who could live like that?
That's
you
right.
can't live off of neither one for real.
Yeah.
But 23, you definitely can't live off of. You know what I'm saying?
And I tell you what.
That's crazy.
I tell you what. Delaware,
you can't go to.
You owe me money for my tires. You hear me?
Yeah, the street, they don't fix their street,
right.
And then all this stuff. I mean,
you owe me money for my tires and for my wheel alignment because I drive down the street and I'm what the fucking boom boom, and I'm like, damn,
that almost break your car.
Yeah,
you know. But where is this tax money going?
And
the pockets of the politicians.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the money's going.
Right.
You know. That's
what I said. Taxation without representation. It would seem like you would not meekly accept taxation without adequate government services. But Americans accept what they have become used to. Even so, one has to ask, what state apparatus in the free world could be more powerful and tyrannical than the one that taxes its citizens while providing no substantial civic benefits in return?
Right.
Solely in order to enrich a overinflated military pirate-like military industrial complex, because that's what our military is. They're a bunch of goddamn pirates. And the ease the tax burden on the immensely rich. Damn, y'all.
I missed that.
I mean, that's just crazy.
I mean, the fight for your sanity, your livelihood, and just your well-being is up in the air at all times.
All the time.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to stay conscious of all things around you and what you're going through and all of that, so you won't get put in the barrel of Mike Tyson. They argue with you so much that you snapped out. He went crazy. No, he didn't go crazy. That's just us right now. When we as a people decide to bubble over like that, it's going to be a problem.
Big time.
You know what I'm saying?
So, like I told you, that white dude said, why are whites, Chinese, Hispanics, and what have you so apprehensive amongst black people?
Right.
Because if America had did to them what they have done to black people, they will burn this thing down.
Right.
And these people are afraid because they don't know if the day is the day that we want to do it.
Right.
They don't know if the day is the day.
That's crazy.
You know? Now, I often often say, why did the Egyptian empire last so long? Because of balance. They understood balance. They understood the attributes of Mayat. Mayat, which is actually an Egyptian goddess.
Mayat.
But these are the 7 attributes of Mayat: order, balance, harmony, truth, reciprocity, propriety, and righteousness. Balance, which we don't have here in America.
America don't even use them words.
No. You know, and you know, it's something that the Americans are at war, as are most those of European descent, with the world and with the natural flow of things. Well, Nsoromma, we can come around to 12 o'clock. It's about time for Thomas to come on.
True.
You know, I hope you learned something today on the open eye.
Me too.
And as we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority
who treat you as an option.
This is Open Eye and Patrice Gibbs.
Nsoromma.
Thanks for joining us.
WHGE 95.3 FM. Yeah. Yo, once again, we coming to a close. The boy be snapping. My beeps was late. My boots was all there, yo. So, yo, thanks for tuning in. Gerard, Sherry, Kiana, yo, Denise, Devin, hey, yo, the whole squad. Stay tuned for Thomas coming up next. You know what I'm saying? And yo, go get my music. Nsoromma streaming everywhere, all platforms. You dig? Yo, Pat, you got something to say?
Yes, indeed. Like I said, I hope you learned something today, and I hope you learned something that you could take on and teach somebody else. Because that's what it's all about, preparing the next generation to prepare the next generation into perpetuity. All right, peace and love, y'all. Peace.